Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. So glad that you could join us. It's a great day on Tampa Bay, isn't it? I do have to say, though, that this great day on Tampa Bay is still a little bit somber from the activities that happened over the past weekend. And I want to say on behalf of the 120 investors of the EDC and the combined staffs of the EDC and Film Tampa Bay, we send our condolences and best wishes and thoughts and prayers to the people of Orlando and the friends and families of those victims. You know, the EDC, in its mission, is to help create a sustainable economy. The Brookings Institute has said, Brookings is probably the foremost thought leader in economic development. Brookings has said that inclusion is the most important thing in creating economic prosperity. I'm so happy that our community is inclusive all around to all demographics. And I hope that we do not let fear and anger take us away from the trajectory that all of you in this room have started us on to be that community that we can be. So with that, again, condolences to the people of Orlando and the friends and family of those victims. And with that, we will move on just to this. So you're gathered here today to hear about Millennial Matter. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors. We have the United Way, Suzanne McCormick from United Way, thank you. Marie Chinisi Everett from DTCC. Dr. Alan List from Moffitt, our chair, Colleen Chappell from Chappell Roberts, and not represented here today, Enterprise Florida, but big thank you to Joe Heiss for helping us with this. So back in October, we had at the EDC the great honor and pleasure and luck of getting a great new chair. So when Colleen took office, she made a commitment to us as a staff, to the investors, and to the committee, and to the community, to make sure that we brought millennials to the table, that we listened to them and we did not try to speak for them. What you are here today to hear about is the culmination of the efforts of Colleen and several of our staff members to listen about the results of two studies, one designed to look at CEOs, one designed to look at just millennials in general. I do want to give a big shout out to Michelle Bauer, our Vice President of Marketing Communications. All of this that you see is her work. She took the results that Ted Stasny, who you'll, I'm sure, be introduced to in a while, and Barry Quarles, our researchers, dug deep in the data and presented us with stacks like this. Michelle and her team dug through the data and presented what you're going to see today. Really looking forward to this. I hope you guys are too. Without further ado, the woman who is responsible for this, Ms. Colleen Chappell.
Thank you so much. I am so excited that all of you are here. Can you all hear me in the back? Steve? Okay, good. Well, thank you, JP, and thank you to all of our sponsors, because it was at our annual meeting this past October where I said we have to stop talking about millennials and we have to start talking to and with millennials. And beyond this initiative, we have a core group of millennial entrepreneurs in this market. Omar, Ron, stand up. Who else is in our group that might be here? Congratulations for being the future. Let me tell you, you need to take all their names down who are in this group. I know I've introduced many of you to them before at some of our past meetings, but they will be the new corporate headquarters in this market. And we're going to talk a lot about that. Our vision was to be sure that we, for the first time ever, had research and data that could drive our decisions. And what Barry Quarles has told us, who's a renowned national and international researcher, is that we are the first community to study the next generation of CEOs and why they make decisions about their location. So we're very much on the forefront, and this is just scratching the surface. What I'll go through today, and then I'm going to turn it over to some of our key leaders in the room, Mayor Bob Buckhorn, Commissioner Ken Hagan, and some of our sponsors to ask a couple insightful questions as follow-up of what did we learn from all of this. But what I can tell you all is that this data is so rich that I'm going to be only scratching the surface. There's a very, very, very large report for those of you who love research that each and every one of you can take from your business perspective, your talent perspective, and leverage these results to really capitalize on the future of our workforce and the future of our market. So with that said, let's talk about this because millennials do matter, and this is what it's all about, a perception study. About this project, how did we get to this point? Very important to remember that talent really is the #1 issue that executives, as well as site selectors, as well as corporations are asking about when it comes to relocation. What's the talent pool? What's the funnel of talent, and how will we be able to fill our workforce, not just today, but well into the future? We wanted to understand the perceptions, those emotional perceptions of Tampa as a place to live, to work, to grow a business, and what will attract talent and high-performing talent and high-performing CEOs in the millennial generation to be part of our community and stay in our community. We wanted to know how will we ultimately compete from a millennial perspective. I can tell you all of the information that we're going to talk about today, and I won't go too deep, but we're trying to pick it up and give you some very salient headlines and highlights, is about the Tampa MSA. We compared MSA against MSA unless I say otherwise, okay? So, in addition, what did we really want to learn? What was the purpose of this extensive deep dive? And it was all about, we wanted to understand how this generation that really is shaping the future of our economy, what do they think about our market? What do they think about some of our top competitive markets? How do they pick their cities? And what's driving millennial CEOs to make decisions on where they're going to expand their companies? What we did is we did 2 surveys. They were conducted in March and April, and again from the Tampa MSA, and we compared against the most frequent markets we compete against: Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, and Nashville. We also did research right here in our market, and we wanted to really be smart and strategic about how we approach this initiative. We didn't use our data to look at all millennials. We knew that there is from 18 to 24-year-olds. Those folks are still in their college years. They're still building their career. We went to 25 to 34-year-olds. They're making important career decisions. These are the folks that are really looking at relocation and corporate identity and their future careers. So that is what we focused on in this particular research. What we did is we leaned on Meg, Market Enhancement Group, and Barry Quarles. He conducted one set of our research, and he did in-depth phone interviews with 125 CEOs, 25 in each of our markets. And we're not talking about just any CEOs. We're talking about young millennials who are on the rise. These are companies that have $5 to $50 million in revenue. They have upwards of 30 to 50 employees. Look at the ages, 26 to 36. And they've been a CEO for 9 years. We're talking about potentially the strongest future prospects of headquarters anywhere in any of these markets. We wanted to know what's influencing them. How are they making their decisions for relocation, for expansion, and where do we stack up? That was critically important. How do we stack up? And then we compared it against a CEO study that we did in 2014 that Barry Quarles conducted, and that was corporate headquarters type research of older CEOs. We wanted to do a compare and contrast. The second survey was done by Research Director on Demand, and that was over 2,800 millennials were surveyed. And Ted is here with us today. thank you so much for your hard work on this research study. We are so thrilled to be sharing all of the results today. And what we did is, this was a statistically significant sample. And why am I emphasizing that? It means that we surveyed enough people in each of these cities that you can extrapolate the results and they'll be the same. This is hardcore data that we are looking at. And we wanted to know here, what factors are motivating millennials to consider moving to a new city? What do Tampa and millennials love about their current community and what's turning them off? And by the way, they were very open. Would out-of-market millennials consider Tampa, and if so, why or why not? So we really wanted to dig deep. Let's look at the CEO survey first. So we're talking to CEOs who happen to be millennials, and they're very successful in their own right. And what did we learn from them? Well, what we learn is that what drives millennials' CEO location decisions are these 5 factors. In this order, they, like many, are wondering what's the talent pool, what's the business climate, but look at number 3, lifestyle. Lifestyle. Their cohorts in the older generation, lifestyle doesn't come up. What comes up is financial decision making. One of the things you're going to see throughout this research is lifestyle and emotional factors make a big difference to this population, this very important ecosystem. The ability to live and work in the exact same area, and commute times, and traffic congestion, and very important, crime, and we're going to talk more about that. So the importance of proximity and lifestyle really distinguished millennial CEOs, and it's something we have so much to offer that we have to consider when talking with them and to them. Crime, when you talk about crime, it was a big issue in competing markets. Crime in Atlanta was listed as the 2nd most important decision maker behind talent attraction. Their minds are very much on the crime within their cities. More than 2/3 of millennials in Dallas area CEOs mention crime is a key consideration for evaluating a new market. Mayor Buckhorn in the city, you should be applauded because this is one of our biggest bragging rights. Not sure if everybody in this room knows, we certainly all need to know, and we need the entire country to know, that Tampa has the lowest crime rate when compared to the cities of Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, and Nashville. Think about that. Important fact that we need to continue to drive home. Next thing we looked at is when you look at how do millennial CEO rate Tampa for business. What's on their mind when it comes to Tampa? The business climate, the cost of living, affordability, and the desirability as a place to live. For the millennials who we surveyed, who are CEOs in this market, they had the highest favorability of their home market than any of the other cities. What an honor it is to know that we have such a pool of talent here that loves it and is passionate about it. And I'll tell you, our millennial entrepreneur group, hands down, every single one of them has one goal, and that is to make this market their home and help others make this market their home. Out-of-market CEOs also listed Tampa's shorter commute times and skilled workforce as other important attributes. Interesting, shorter commute times. Some of us aren't real happy about it, but when you look at it comparatively, the pain points in other markets can be far greater than what we have in our market. When you look at local millennials, CEOs, those that live right here, what are they most happy about? The business climate, and number 2, the quality of life. Talent, cost of living, and labor costs. Again, the highest favorability of any of the other sub-markets we reviewed. So very, very powerful information. But let's talk about some of the concerns, because it isn't all roses and there's always going to be concerns. The top negative characteristics were transportation related. Traffic, transportation options, and basic infrastructure not keeping up with growth. What we learned in addition is limited options for living and working in the same area, and that the downtown isn't sufficiently developed for work and life, live-work environment. Think about it. A lot of you are saying, oh yes it is, oh yes it is. We have come such a long way, and we're going to get to that as we get to what we're going to do as a result of this, because we know we have answers to some of these perceptions. The bright spots, When Tampa area millennial CEOs were asked to name negatives, 48% said none. Amazing what the passion is with this particular group. We also wanted to know how likely are CEOs to move to a new market. Let me just tell you, millennials are all on the move. Nearly 1 in 4 are likely or somewhat likely to move or establish a headquarters within the next 1 to 3 years. 12% are considering Tampa specifically. That's great news, but we need to put that number and pump up the volume to be sure that everybody understands the true story we have here in our market. Dallas and Nashville had the greatest number of CEOs who said, we're likely to move, we're not happy where we are. Least likely to move, again, are Tampa CEOs. What's prompting a headquarters move, these future headquarters CEOs that are on the growth path? What's prompting that? Growth, talent needs, and the ability, again, to live and work in the same area. When you look at who makes the relocation decisions, this is very different from any other research we've ever done. Nearly 90% said they rely on themselves and their team. This is a cultural decision. We need the team's buy-in. We need to get their thoughts, their views, their ideas, and then we'll come to a consensus. Very, very different than a CEO-driven decision that we've had with other potential generations. The other influencers, they have a lot of influencers that help them with their decisions. Accounting firms, mentors, real estate agent, brokers, the internet. Lots and lots of research on the internet, and board members. These are all what we need to now consider our sales channels. When you look at how do they learn about communities, 60% of millennials rely on social media for information about places they are considering. 60%. The same research study with a different generation 2 years ago, that percent was 0. Ladies and gentlemen, hashtag we all gotta get on social media. There is no way around it. It is not a value add for this group. It is an absolute mandatory, and we must embrace it, and we must spread the word about our community through social media actively and proactively. Millennial CEOs want you to want them. They want to be wanted. And so when you talk about and ask them what sales and marketing approach works best, contact them directly. 80% preferred a personal, proactive approach from communities hoping to win their business. They want to see us, they want to talk to us, they want us to want them. How can we invest in them coming to Tampa? Prove that we have, which we do, a pro-business state and local leadership. Convince them of our workforce, show commute times are shorter than competing markets, and demonstrate we have abundance of new options and growing options when it comes to living and working in the same area. Lots of opportunity here. When you talk about the top reasons for or against moving a headquarters to Tampa, the 3 reasons to come here: no personal tax, pro-business, and absence of bureaucratic requirements. Against, you'll hear it again and again, but you'll not only hear it about Tampa, you'll hear it about all of our other competing markets. Transportation, that they can't live and work in the same area, and lack of a developed downtown in which to live and work, which the mayor's going to have something to say about that when we're done with this study, because we all know we are so on the move when it comes to a downtown. We're just going to have to communicate that more and more and more to this group. Moving on, my perfect city survey takeaways. Remember, this was the quantitative survey, nearly 3,000 millennials, and what we did here is researched and asked them a variety of questions. 7 out of 10 are considering moving. Millennials are on the move. That's a big headline out of this research. Average of 1 in 5, so 20%, said they would relocate from their current city in a year. Top reasons: career opportunity, affordable housing, work-life balance. You see how this emotional, lifestyle-driven qualities come into play. Family-friendly location, the cost of living, and an ability to live and work in the same area. Nashville and Atlanta millennials are already dreaming about Florida. Nearly a third of those surveyed, in Nashville said, we're really thinking about Florida. In Atlanta, a little bit over 20% of them. They listed the Sunshine State as their top potential choice for relocation. Less interested, those in Charlotte. I might add, we did this research before the very controversial bill that was passed, and the controversy as far as allowing diversity in that market. We would assume that that would change because there's been a lot of ripple effect from that single decision. And Dallas, those in Dallas, they like to be in Texas, and our hair isn't big enough. I don't know, but they're not interested. They're not interested. Wow. So is Tampa on their list? It sure absolutely is. We asked them, the millennials considering moving to a new city, if they would consider Tampa. Now we went right at it. We said, would you consider Tampa? Half said yes, or maybe, not even knowing. Let me take that back. I said that wrong because I diluted it. And Michelle's looking at me, I'm sure, because I diluted that. Bottom right corner, unaided. We did not probe them. We simply said, if you're considering moving to a new city, what would you consider? And Tampa came up where half said yes or maybe, despite not knowing much about us. What's interesting is they do add, despite not knowing much about us. We're all probably surprised by that. How could they not know much about us? We know that we're on the move and great things are happening. This is an opportunity for us, even without knowing everything that's happening here. They're very interested in potentially considering us as a future home. And the reasons are why, right there. Good or better career, quality of life, and affordability. We went on and asked, what do local millennials love about Tampa? Those that are here, when we went to our own population, what do they love? Ladies and gentlemen, get the craft beer and the foodie out, and we are golden. This is huge. Our foodie scene, our craft beer scene, this is not just a side gig. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a magnet for millennials and something we have to pay close attention to. And it's a huge factor in our market, and we're getting more and more buzz. Weather and lifestyle, family-friendly area, and bravo to our airport. It came right up. Tampa International Airport is beloved. Room for improvement? Of course there's room for improvement. Community times, housing costs, and lack of public transportation comes over and over and over again. And things we have to address and things we have to look at mitigating. When we talk about key takeaways for Tampa and Hillsborough County, now we're being very specific to Tampa and Hillsborough County. We know what recruiting targets think about Tampa and Hillsborough County. Now we understand what millennial CEOs perceive as Tampa's place to live and build their communities. And millennials in other markets have a favorable impression of Tampa, even though they don't know us. And millennials would consider moving to Tampa. So if we educate them about jobs and affordability and lifestyle, we can convince them to come here and grow our talent pool. What else can we be doing? Opportunities for Tampa and Hillsborough County. We need to talk up our talent. We need to be spreading the message better than we ever have in the past about Hillsborough County's increasing concentration of college-educated professionals. Believe it or not, I don't know if everyone in this room knows this, but we should. In Hillsborough County, we have the highest percentage of college-educated 18 to 34-year-olds compared to the overall MSA. We're leading the pack. Important information, given that we're all about economic development and prosperity in Tampa and Hillsborough County. When you talk about what other opportunities we have as a city and as a county, we need to promote local live-work districts and specific neighborhoods to give millennials a sense of what they want. We all know downtown, Channelside, West Shore, Ybor City, Seminole Heights, Hyde Park, West Tampa. We could go on and on and on. Each of these enclaves offer this cohort exactly what they're looking for, but for some reason they're not aware of it. We need to pump up the volume in that message as well. Other opportunities. We need to enlist local millennial CEOs, as we started to do, who are passionate about Tampa, to deliver the message themselves. Because you know what? It's not always about the message. The messenger is so important. And we have the ability to harness some of the most passionate millennial professionals we've ever seen, and I would hold them up against any market. We need to harness them to help us spread this story. They need to hear from peers the advantages. They need to hear from peers the reality. In addition, we need to emphasize the key benefits such as our high job demand, low cost of living, housing affordability, and low crime rate. All of these are emotional triggers for this audience. And did you know that Tampa has the lowest cost of living among major markets in Florida and our competing metros? This is a statistical fact. Now that we know what they want, we build the proof points, we pull the facts, and we're able to do a better job of communicating to them and building a connection. Yep, we have traffic problems and we have transportation challenges, and we're all too familiar with them, especially recently. So do our competing markets. So what do? We got to educate our target audiences about commute times compared to other cities. We got to, whenever possible, look at whatever is positive in comparison to another market. And we also need to continue our efforts to improve anything we can when it comes to transportation. It's the future of our market. It's the future of our talent pool as we grow as a community. We need to prepare messages and a toolkit for our investors and partners and local millennial CEOs so that everyone from an economic development perspective can become an ambassador. We need everyone in Tampa and Hillsborough County, in this room and well beyond, to become an ambassador of these key messages. As a single entity, the Tampa Hillsborough Economic Development Corporation, we can do big things, but individually, as we combine collectively all of our efforts and all of our corporate efforts from every organization we're involved in, imagine the voice we can have and amplify if we pull together to do this. We also need to develop a millennial recruiting and retention plan that's woven into our strategic plan. We actually had a meeting today and talked specifically about that. What we want to be sure and ensure is that we have a full-fledged strategic plan on how we can recruit and also retain millennials from a talent perspective and also millennials from a corporate perspective, a CEO perspective. Now, that was a lot of data, and I would like to, off the cuff, ask a couple of questions of our key leaders, and I'd like to start with you, Mayor, if you don't mind. But, you know, the news and the bottom line about Tampa is pretty darn good. There are areas that we need to focus on, and you are such an ambassador of this market. Thoughts for the group on how you would change your messaging or enhance your messaging, given some of this data?
You know, I don't know what they're...
Can you stand up so we can all hear you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Plus, that tie looks great now when everybody see it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know that we need to change it, but I think amplify it would be the appropriate description. I mean, I look at that data and I think about how far we have come over the last 5 years, when literally the brain drain leaving this city and this state was a one-way street. You know, and those of us, you know, I see Commissioner Sharp there and Dr. Lisk, who is in the talent recruiting business. We were losing our kids. We were losing this very generation that we are surveying now on one-way ticket to places like Charlotte and Austin and Raleigh-Durham. And you think about how that has reversed in the last 5 years, and you think about what has occurred here. And so while I'm happy about that, I'm never satisfied. And I think the story that we have to tell, Colleen, and we have the ability to tell, is a pretty compelling one.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you saw that video that we did a couple months ago, that fortunately did not have me in it. That the reach on that video was 1.4 million. And 700,000, I think, actually viewed the video, and it was the story of Tampa and everything that was going on here. I mean, we have a hell of a case to make if we have the right platform and the right opportunity, and we are disciplined about our message. This is my stuff.
It's okay to break it if it's yours.
Yeah, but we need to take the message out on the road, That may be physically, it may be via Facebook or Twitter or whatever means of
Or
communication.
all of the above.
Or all of the above. But I can tell you now, and I think all of you sense it and feel it, this is a different city than what it was. And it's not as different as it's going to be. And we have yet to tell and complete that chapter. But the raw materials that we have as a community, with what Jeff Vinnick and James are doing, what we are about to announce tomorrow here on this site right here, with the med school moving down, with all of the amazingly positive things, the 3,000 new residential units that will be constructed in downtown Tampa in the next 18 to 24 months. That perception of a downtown that is not yet where it needs to be, I think in short order, will be eliminated. But you got to be persistent. There's got to be message discipline. It's got to be repeated over and over and over again, never straying from what our talking points are. But I can tell you this, of all the cities in America, I'm not sure what other city at this point in their development, with all of the natural assets that we have, has a better story to tell. We just got to go tell the story. And if we tell the story, we'll win this war. I guarantee you we will win this war. And our ability to attract talent, which is what this is all about. Because if you bring talent, you bring jobs. And if you bring talent, you bring corporations. And if you bring talent, then folks are going to want to move from the suburbs to the urban core. And if you provide them with the assets that they want, where they can live, work, and play, then we will win this war. But we are never, ever done competing. Ever. So absolutely, I think you're right. We just got to go take this and go tell it to whoever will listen and be relentless about it. And I don't care if they say you say the same thing all the time. I'm damn sure I'm going to say the same thing.
That's good marketing.
And it's working. The mojo is working.
The mojo's working. Hashtag mojo's working.
Amen.
Commissioner Hagan, you have been a staunch leader when it comes to transportation and our initiatives. And a lot of what we heard here today, and a lot of what we're hearing in a lot of our competing cities, is about transportation. How does this research impact your view moving forward when it comes to transportation initiatives? Can you come and share that with us? I'm putting you on the spot.
Now I know why Colleen invited me here for this. I didn't realize there was going to be a pop quiz. Or that I was going to speak, I would have dressed a little nicer.
No, millennials like that. It's casual, it's real.
While my hairline will tell you that I'm not a millennial, I share certain characteristics or affinity that millennials have, particularly with craft beer and food. So we're on the same page there. Honestly, it validates much of what I believe and what I know the leaders here believe. Just looking at, I'm just seeing this now with you guys. Traffic congestion tops the list of negative perceptions millennial CEOs have about Tampa. Tampa millennials love our outdoor amenities, food and craft beer scene, and great weather, but are less happy about the commuting times, lack of public transportation, and cost of housing. We have been told that time and time again from our site selectors, that traffic congestion is our #1 issue. It's nice to see a statistically significant survey, 2,800 people, I think, or 400 from Tampa participate. As an elected official, I'm sure Mayor Buckhorn will agree with this. We look at polls, so it's nice to see a statistically significant sample or survey, but it really validates what we know and what we believe. Traffic congestion, lack of mobility options, inferior transportation network, those are the #1 issues cited by our site selectors as the #1 issue impeding our corporate relocation and headquarter recruitment efforts. And so it reaffirms what we believe. I completely agree with Mayor Buckhorn about if we tell our story, there's no question that we will win. It's nice to know that we have leaders such as Jeff Vinnick that's leading the charge. When you see Jeff Vinnick on CNBC, when you see him championing Tampa, Hillsborough County, developing here, not talking about the lightning, but talking about the growth and potential we have here. It's just so reassuring, and I say that not as a elected official, but I say that as a native and lifelong resident of Tampa, Hillsborough County, and someone with 2 young children that want them to remain here and do not want them to leave like that's happened in the past. But it simply it reaffirms what, what we know, what we believe, the importance of transportation, having an improved network, offering mobility options. That's why I was so passionate about the transportation referendum that our board was trying to put through last week, and over the last 3 years that we worked so hard on it. Extremely frustrating and disappointing that we were unable to place this on the ballot. The goal was to offer mobility options, increase bus ridership with increased frequency, expansion of service, including ferry service, giving the city of Tampa flexibility to have rail from downtown to West Shore to the airport. Sad reality is we have a $10 billion unfunded need. That's only going to get worse, and we know we're going to have a minimum of 500,000 people moving here over the next 20 years. So this problem is only going to get worse if we do not tackle it. And normally, when there's an issue and people say, okay, what can we do? I normally say contact your elected officials and share your concerns. However, I believe that if this issue is going to if we're going to make an impact and we're going to solve this issue moving forward, it's going to have to be a citizen-driven initiative. And it pains me to say that, but going forward, not this year, but for either 2018, 2020, in order to get something meaningful on the ballot, I think it's going to have to be driven by the business community, the private sector to do that, and millennials will certainly play an enormous role in that. And I would encourage you to get involved, and I'll be there with you every step of the way. So.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to now ask Marie Chinisi Everett of Depository Trust Clearing Corp. Come on up here.
Do I get a pop quiz question?
Yes, you do.
too?
Yes, you do. Marie, your company.
There's a list here, by the way.
Yeah. Be aware. More of you are coming. Your company is global. You are constantly looking at the funnel of talent. How does this study impact your future focus on your talent funnel?
Sure. So interestingly, the timing of this research is really opportune. Earlier this year, we kicked off some research to refresh our employer value proposition, how we talk about our company to employees, to prospects around the world. And one of the things that we've learned from the research and continue to learn is that it's important to have a very local message. So we talk about our company, the value of working there, why DTCC, but it's also important to take that message very local. Why DTCC Tampa? Why people want to come and work at our company in Tampa? And there's a lot of great information here that we will leverage. It's also important, and I think we've heard this consistently, that we need to leverage all of our channels. So in addition to having a consistent message that we talk about over and over again, we need to use all of the tools in our tool chest to get that message out there. And social media is increasingly becoming important to reach all of our audiences. Millennials, and actually everyone. People are working in a very fast-paced environment. They don't have the time anymore to read, diatribes of information. So we have to give them nuggets of information. We have to give it to them in ways that they will be able to digest it, and just keep the story out there.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Dr. List, I'd love to call you up here. In 2 years, you're going to be chair of the EDC. How will this research impact your platform moving forward?
Well, maybe I can start from a personal perspective.
Please.
With Moffett. When we look at Moffitt's workforce, we're about 5,500, and probably, we just talked about this on the way down, at least half of them are millennials. And when you look at the turnover, which is very low at Moffitt, the biggest turnover is in that population. They are looking for career opportunities. And I was speaking with Ruan Cox, who I think is back here, one of
He's
our
on our millennial
millennials.
group?
He may have had to leave, I knew he had 3 o'clock yesterday.
He said his boss made him leave.
But it's the same thing you heard in all this information here. They're looking for career opportunities, and they're looking for an opportunity to be successful wherever they are. And so I think from my looking at the EDC, what we can do, when we get companies here, we have CEOs who are able to attract here, we have to make sure they're successful. And what they want is the opportunity to network, and they want the opportunity to have mentorship so they can help develop this, and they want shared resources they have access to. I think that's something that we can easily start on. And when you set a strategic plan, we have to have that. we have to make sure we're doing it now and doing it in the future. What attracts, I mean, obviously, we're very interested in biotech. That's we're in our research. We're right now, we constantly license new discoveries out, sometimes about 16 startups in the last 2 years. But I can tell you, you're a lot more successful in Boston than you are here, for several reasons. There's a lot more opportunities there. And, but I think you can start to create that core group. And, you know, for us, the engine for our research are the postdocs. And the postdocs will come here because they see there's a path for them in a career. So as we continue to generate and expand research in the life science area or biotech, that's an opportunity to attract even better and the best postdocs if we can, have them stay here and then they turn into the new CEOs going forward.
That's right.
So I think there's a lot we can do. The Innovation Alliance, I think, is a great opportunity here. Mark Sharp's here, who's helping to lead all of that. I think there's a lot we can do with the county to help have a strategic plan to help nurture that. But I think what you said is strategically, we have to be nurturing what we're doing here with the young CEOs and also creating that network.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And we look forward to you doing that during your time. Suzanne McCormick, you jumped right in. Come on up here.
Can I hear the question first?
Yes, ask a question.
No. I said I want to hear the question.
Oh, hear the question. You jumped right in when we talked about this research. You were very, very interested, and you lead such an important organization, United Way. How does this type of research impact you and how you move your mission forward in the future, many years from now?
Well, I think most of you know that the ability of United Way to create positive community change is so reliant on our ability to engage citizens in our community, particularly those who are in the workforce. So for us, this information was incredibly important to help us understand how is the workforce changing and what is appealing to our new workforce. So it was easy to say yes, because it's information that we need just to evolve our business model and the way that we engage folks, particularly millennials. One of the pieces of data that I had the opportunity to sit down and go into the data in depth, and one of the pieces of data that sort of stood out for me when they rated Tampa on sort of things that they thought were really positive and things that were less positive, is the ability to actually make a difference in community was not rated as favorably as I would hope it would be. And so for us, that's great information to think about. How do we, as an organization and a leader in the nonprofit sector, create more opportunities so that millennials can feel engaged? Because engagement definitely helps improve their feelings about lifestyle and quality of life. So it's just rich data. We want to be relevant, and we have to understand who's going to be in our community to do that.
That's great. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you. I'm going to put one more person on the spot. Roberto, come on up here. You are from our CEO Millennial Group. He is highly successful. I saw on Facebook what he purchased this week. We're not going to talk about it in this room. He's highly successful. Tell everybody about your company, and more importantly, this research, our initiative that you're a part of. Just share a few words of what this means to you, because this is, we're not talking about you, we're talking to you.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Roberto Torres. I came to this country in '95. Actually, went to Florida State, graduated with an accounting and finance degree. Lived in New York, lived in Miami. Ended up in Tampa in 2006. After the recession, I knew that I didn't want to become another statistic, and I wanted to write my own ticket. So we started a company called Black and Denim in 2010, and then we started another coffee company in 2014. So I think that this idea of not looking for Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 companies and starting to look at the medium sector of what could potentially become one of those companies within the next 10 to 15 years is absolutely amazing. I was actually in Vegas with an exchange trip. I sit on the board of advisors for the entrepreneurship department at the University of Tampa. We were doing a cultural exchange between us and UNLV. And let me tell you that Vegas, with everything that Tony Hsieh and Zappos is doing, has nothing on us. The idea that they have poured almost $350 million into the downtown, and we have sunshine here and nothing but a great view, and the same things or characteristics that put that perfect storm of talent, which is the first thing, recruitment, aligning our resources with the 2 billion expansion of the airport along with the port, is nothing but setting us for success. So I want to thank you for including and having the opportunity to put me in this Millennial Council. It's a humbling experience, and anything that we can do to help, I
You
would love
can
to.
provide more coffee because it's dark. If you haven't had it, whoa, it's strong, it's good. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
That is the end of our formal.